can you give in your own words your synopsis, your premise on of the movie Rogue?
Oh man, Rogue comes from a time where women are being looked at as very very masculine, doing things that a lot of men can do, and what you can do, I can do better type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And um, she was pretty much saying in the midst of all of that, and all she wanted to do was serve her country and actually spend time with somebody that that appreciates her and appreciates what she do. Um, and with coming away from you know going into civilian life, she's had to make some changes, and she wanted to, saying do things for the better. It just so happens that come across a man who sees those type of women as a threat
Yes.
and want to be humble those type of women to a certain to at a point that you know men are always going to be better.
Mm.
And my character and the other characters took uh took it in a whole nother way, and we learned the hard way. We went to sleep.
Right, permanently. Yeah, so yeah, yeah, but thank you for so much for sharing that, Fred. I appreciate that. And so I want to know, as far as your character, um, can you tell us how did that resonate with you as far as what's the difference between your character's views on, this whole soft girl era, masculine woman, that type of thing, and your own perspective, and and you don't have to give me the politically correct answer. Give me your honest view.
Yeah, I'll say that my character definitely saw her as a threat.
Mhm.
So definitely saw her as somebody that's like, you're not better than me. And with us, with me and the crew, we wanted to definitely humble those type of women, and let them know that there's a place for you. Saying you should stay there. Um, in in my natural life, in my actual life, I really, really believe, and I actually come from a family of strong women. My mother, my sister is she was a drill sergeant, so
Wow.
she was in a male dominant field that took on a lot of responsibility. She had a lot of people that she had to train to survive, and it takes a lot of grit, and she's
Yes.
always had it ever since saying I was a kid. So she's 12 years older than me, and she you know
Mm.
she
Okay.
was
Yeah. Mhm.
she was that life force. She was very forceful when it came to it, and she definitely had a knack for it, and she's well respected in the Air Force community.
Oh, nice. Oh, shout out to your sister, and thank you for your services, sis. Thank you for your services.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Yeah. So now, Fred, and I also want your honest answer on this because when I mentioned about soft girl era, right? And you have a lot of women that are trying to achieve that in the sense of how um there was a period where there was a period where the feminist movement was coming on strong, and like how I'm women here we roar, and to the point where they and then there's nothing wrong with exuding femininity. There's nothing wrong with having a voice, but it seemed like throughout time, and just this is just me talking, not you, just me, is my
Mhm.
word.
Right,
I'm kind of I'm giving you a lead up to what I want you to give me your perspective on.
right,
I'm
right.
just giving you all right. So um, I get the objective of it, but I feel like in time it led to a lot of women exuding independence and doing it for themselves at the expense of men, at the expense of men, and it got to the point where the men became obsolete. The man's role became obsolete. The man's um the man's position in the nuclear family became obsolete. It became a point where a lot more men are emasculated. They're not
Yeah.
really as respected, and so as a black woman, I know, some people might view me as a pick me for saying that, but I'm not saying that to bash women because I do believe that, yes, we as women do need to have a voice. We do need to have, the ability to do our own thing, to have our careers and being able to balance it all
Hmm.
without the expense of the man's role, the and a lot of people tend to a lot of women, I should say, tend to misconstrue the concept of submission because a lot of men, you know, a lot of men are not able to understand it themselves to the point where they find it as a means to control or a means to have women be used as doormats or women to make them feel like they're less than. Because like you
Hmm.
said before about women being a threat because they have a certain amount of strength and they're able to defend themselves. And so you have a lot of men who are threatened by women instead of competing with the women. They don't have the ability to uplift and have the ability to be proud of who they are. And
Right.
and vice versa. You have a lot of women who are so caught up in the idea of being independent. They're so caught up with the idea of not allowing a man to they miss out on the true blessing of it all. They miss out of the true blessing of being with a man who truly have good intentions. So, with that being said, Fred, I want to know your perspective on how the whole feministic ideals evolved in time. How did that evolve? What does that look like to you? And how do you?
Um, um, it looks like I said, with the background of saying my family. I always looked at women. I also looked at the women that was in my life very very strong, and I actually fed off of that. Like I said, like I can go back to my sister, like with her, with the struggles that she gone through, especially when it came to the military and things like that. You know, she was always like stuck in like, oh, you can't do this because you're a woman. You can't even
Mhm,
her husband
mhm,
was, her husband was even like, I don't see you doing that or you shouldn't.
mm,
And she used that as fuel, as like, yes, I can. So I commend any woman that wants to that has a dream to do anything, because like who am I to judge? Because you have no idea, you know, who you're who you're talking down to,
mhm, mhm,
and that like even as kids, that parents saying you can't do this and you can't do that, that's that's stuck in their mind that they can't when they actually have a dream to do it. So I feel that if a woman wants to take on a role that is you know very very dominant, stay in your feminine lane but also have a voice.
yes,
Like have your voice and be heard, or whatever it takes, put action into it, put word into it. That's pretty much my thing. I commend a woman to do anything.